I am going to give you just a little bit of a look behind the scenes of what's been going on for us. Um, we are celebrating I think 108K month for May. So that's super exciting because that is our first six-figure month at A Lit Up Life. And obviously that's so cool regardless, like so cool to hit a milestone like that. But what I'm also really proud about is how we've done it and the model that we've done it with. So I want to talk about that a lot today. I want to talk about kind of like how I've thought about this, the mindset that has gone into it. But I really also just want it to be proof that like you can build a business your way, however you want it. Hi, y'all. It's so good to see you. I know it's been so long. Hi, Saranza. Oh, thank you guys so much for being here. I really also want this to be a conversation on how you really can build a business your way, because to me, that's what this month represents for us. It's not just about the money, although again, of course, like amazing and want to honor that and celebrate that, but it's so much more about like, you can scale a business in the way that actually feels good to you and like really just want to be a statement or a sign for that, because I didn't have that when I started building the business like this. Like I really thought there was like one way to scale a coaching business. I really thought there was only one way to make it work. And just kind of like being here a few years later and being able to say that, you know, we'll have a 7-figure year because we did it differently is really cool. But also like, it definitely took me longer than it could have if I scaled it a different way. So I kind of want to be able to share both of those angles where, yes, I love how we did it. And certainly it probably could have gone faster another way. And also that's not bad, right? And like, I think just like that balance of the two is really important to say, where like, just like faster doesn't always equal better. But it also doesn't have to take a super long time either. So like, there's just all the nuance to that, right? So basically, if you don't know, I'll just like very quickly share this, although I'm sure most of you do know this, but the way that my business works is we do almost entirely a one-on-one model. I do have a mastermind for clients that have been with me for over a year, but that's a revenue share model and they have a lot of one-on-one access. They have all the one-on-one access basically. So they really just have like an added mastermind component. And then I also do value-centered sales as just a 3-person mastermind. So basically my entire business is built on one-on-one, again, aside from like maybe the 3-person mastermind, but you know, effectively still very one-on-one focused. Awesome. Hi, Shari. Oh no, you got kicked out. Thank you for being here. Aw, thank you for celebrating. I so appreciate it. Hi, Harshat. Thank you, Kiva. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, the way that's the way we work. And so what I do is all my one-on-one clients pay a base rate and then 10% of new revenue on top of that. So we do what I call a partnership model, which is based on 10% of new revenue. And so what's so cool about that, and what I love so much about that model, is that to me, us having $1 million a year represents so much for our clients. To me, us having 108K cash month represents so much for our clients, right? So like, I haven't actually done the math on this and I just thought of it. So like, bear with me because this is going to be terrible math because I didn't prepare for this. But like, if you think about that, right? Like let's take 108 and then let's say minus like some base rate. Let's go down to 90 because I need round numbers to make this work so I can do math in my head. And then let's divide 90 by like 20, say 20 clients. I think I have a little bit more than that, but right, like again, I need round numbers here. So if you go minus base rate and you just take 90 and divide by 20, that means on average, our clients are averaging 45K months, right? Which is fucking crazy if you think about that, right? Like, and we still have some clients that have been with us for so long that they don't even have to pay percentage. And it's just new revenue. So that doesn't even encompass all of their revenue. So it's kind of cool to be able to see like what, like 108K month means like an on average earning of 45 to 50K per client. Like, so that's super cool. Obviously, some people are less, some people are more, not making any of that right or wrong. But what I like about that portion of it is that when we make money, it is a direct reflection of our clients making money, right? Of them having really amazing, like unheard of results, right? Now, the trade-off to that I want to be really honest about here, and then I'll kind of walk you back through the journey, is that it also means my income isn't as clearly projectable. Like, right? Like we stay on a steady track. I think, the month before that, or maybe 2 months before that, we were at like 94. And the month before that, we were maybe at like 84. So we stay within a range, but like, I don't know what this month will be. Like I haven't gotten most of our income reports finalized for this month yet. And so there is just a trade-off there. And so that's important to say too, where it's like, yes, we're doing it our way. Yes, it feels really good. Yes, we're making a lot of money. Yes, it represents all these amazing things for clients. And there are trade-offs. And so I just always want to be really honest about that, because I feel like too often someone will be like, my business model is perfect and you should do it. Very few people have the business model that I have. And for most of the years I've been doing this, nobody had this business model. So I'm definitely not saying do it. I'm just saying that like it's working really well for us, but there are obviously trade-offs associated with it. I can project based on like the 5 months we've had so far this year that we're going to do well over $1 million, but it's a projection that is by and large determined by client revenue. And so there is, again, just like trade-offs there. Like there's a lot of like surrendering to that. There's a lot of, letting go of control, which is totally an edge for me. If you know me, like that is always my work. That has to come from that. So just perspective on how it works, how it runs, but again, also what it means for our clients and what it means for their results, which is so cool. Again, if I think about the fact that it represents an average client revenue of almost 50K a month, like that is where it feels so amazing. That is where it feels like magical. You know what I mean? Not because the number is everything, but because it just shows the impact that it's creating, right? So the kind of like journey I want to share with you about this that feels really important and like a really good lesson here is that, oh, are you guys losing me? Can y'all tell me if you lost me? Looks like it's frozen for me, but that could just be me. So let me know. So the journey that I really want to share with you guys is that, I think you didn't lose me. Well, let me keep talking for a minute. So the journey I want to share with y'all is that this was not always clear that this would work. And this has taken years to get to. When I first had this idea, most people in my world thought it was a pretty bad idea, to be honest. Oh, good. It's not frozen. Okay. Yeah. Oh, good. That's so weird. I wonder why it's frozen for me. Okay. Thank you guys so much. That's super helpful. So like most people in my world thought this was a bad idea. And honestly, like I get why they thought it was a bad idea. Like it wasn't like anyone was trying to be an asshole or hold me back or whatever. It's just like, this wasn't a model anyone was using in the coaching space. And it felt like a big risk to put your money where your mouth is that much, to put your wins in someone else's hands, so to speak. Right. So I tested this for a while. So I did a little partnership, which was like an event that I ran basically, and I picked people to work with for just 20%. So instead of doing the base rate, then now I do base rate and 10%. My base rate is $12.50 a month. Then I just did 20% for a few clients to test it out. And honestly, it worked super fucking well, right? Like super well. And I loved it. And then I did it again and again and again. And then I think I tested it for like a year or two before I transitioned my full business model to it. And so I just want to share that for a few reasons. One is be willing to experiment with shit. Like be willing to test things, be willing to get invested in it. But I also am so grateful that I did that and that I didn't shift my whole business model right away. Because even though, like, yes, that's where I've ended up and it was really good, I had to like get ready for that. I had to get in the right place. I had to get my mindset on board. I had to have the evidence built up. Like if I had made that shift right away, I honestly think it wouldn't have gone how it's gone. I think it would have been really tough for me mindset wise to believe in that when so many other people didn't. I think it would have been really tough for me to get other people to be really bought into it. So by the time I actually did it, I was super bought in, and so much of my audience was super bought in because I'd been talking about that for a really long time. And so it's just really helpful to see that for you as a business owner too, whether or not you ever want to do a model like this. The point is, we feel so much pressure sometimes to like rush into something, to like fully go into it without like testing it, without giving it a little bit of time, without getting ourselves on board with it, that kind of thing. And sometimes that can be so detrimental because an idea that would have been a really fucking good idea could have really tanked, right? If I hadn't let myself warm to it, build up evidence, and feel really safe in the meantime. So while I was testing it, I still had all my other like clients in a full one-on-one practice that were just paying a regular rate. And so I didn't feel like I was like completely like, putting myself at risk or anything. Like I was safe to test this. So a lot of times when clients come to me and they have like this new idea, what I like really encourage them on there is like, how can you make it feel safe for you? Right? Like you don't have to like I feel like this idea of, what is this idea in the entrepreneur space? I forget what it's like, burn the boats or whatever. I don't know if it's just the entrepreneur space. So you guys know what I mean, where it's like, let go of every other option, like burn the boats. Like I am so not a believer in that. And I do not think our like nervous systems, specifically as women, but in general, regulate very well to a burn the boats mentality. And I think it can fry a lot of people. And I think it can crush a lot of really, really good ideas. And so don't feel like, whether that means for you leaving the job or like testing a new type of business model or whatever, do not feel like it means you're not all about it if you're not like all in and burning the ships. That is not a fucking requirement. What is a requirement is being able to create sustainability and like regulate to it along the way so that you can stay in it. So the more you can find ways to do that, the better. And I'm so thankful for that when I look back on this, because again, even though I'm here and it turned out to be a great idea, so much of why I'm here is because I gave myself that time period up front to get here. Also requires a very solid mindset for it to not get super tricky around client results. 100%. I think unless you've done this, you have no idea the amount of mindset work that would go into a percentage model. So it's just totally true. Francis says, I love the gradual approach and the evidence testing in the marketplace. Exactly. It's a TR quote, TR. Burn the boat so you have no opportunity to succeed. I say all the time that I disagree with this. Having a prepared plan provides greater Tony Robbins probably is what you mean. Thanks, Steph. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Tony Robbins. My brain was like TR. But yeah, exactly. And honestly, like, not to get like really like gender specific here, but I think from a more masculine standpoint, sometimes I think there is a different level of response to this idea of like burning the boats than to like, more like feminine standpoint where we really crave a lot of safeties. Right. And so, I do think that there is just like it makes sense that was a Tony Robbins quote to me, where just like a lot of the women I work with, like just aren't super responsive to something like that because it literally is super activating, makes you feel unsafe, and can make you not be able to see like a good idea really fully through. It also really helped me because, like I was saying, a lot of people kind of in my life at that time were like, this seems like not a great idea. And like a lot of the feedback I got were like, what if people don't report income accurately? What, like, it's, you're putting all your success on them doing something, them taking action. Like you can't make anyone else do anything. Like there were just so many like pretty like well-meaning and honestly like good points, right? That a lot of people were making. And so that's why it also made me feel safe to test it. So I think that's also something like really worthwhile to think about, which is like, if you're really feeling called to do something, like you don't have to jump all the way into the deep end of the ocean and like ignore what everyone else is saying, but you also don't have to let it stop you. Like there is this middle ground where you can be like, I still really believe in this and I really want to test this. And it doesn't mean I have to go all in and like change everything about what I'm doing to get there, because that really, again, can like make it a lot harder sometimes too, because you're so stressed the whole time. And again, sorry, it's my dog stretching herself. The whole time that, I have done this, like there has had to be quite a bit of like mindset work and management around like what it means to make money off of your clients' results. You know what I mean? And there's always like a new layer there. And so giving myself space to process it at the beginning was really, really helpful when it didn't have to be my whole entire business model. And again, like it's okay. Like I don't even like look back and think like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people were giving me that advice. Like that advice is still valid advice to think about. You know what I mean? Like that's like, even today in this business model, that's not a wrong question. People ask me all the time, like, how do you know if clients are reporting income correctly? Like it's still a valid question. But just like how everyone wants you to believe that there's this one model that's perfect and has no issues, it's not true. All of them do. And this is just an example of that. There are valid questions to ask there. And so it's not wrong if people are challenging you or asking you questions. I think you have to be like really grounded in your own stance to be like, hey, that's a fair question. I'm going to find out the answer to it as I test it, instead of it almost feeling like a negative thing or like someone's, kind of like being negative or whatever. That's not really it either. Even some of the like people you have in your life, like I feel like a lot of my clients in some ways pay me to play devil's advocate on stuff sometimes too. So we're thinking through all aspects of it. So it's not wrong to have someone question your idea or have them, point out different perspective to you or whatever. So like, I just want to make sure that when I'm saying that, I'm not saying it was bad that people weren't in favor of it. It fucking made sense. And I needed someone to play the other side of that for me to see like that all might be true. And I really still want to do this. That all might be true. And that's why I'm going to test it this way. I think that a lot of times we feel like if the people around us aren't fully bought in, they don't trust us or they don't believe in us or they don't any of those things. They're mostly trying to give us different ways to think about things and keep us safe a lot of the time. So I think just that perspective has been really helpful for me too, where like it was still helpful to have that feedback without making it wrong. So a little bit of perspective on the journey there as well. And then the other thing I'll just say too, in terms of that, is letting go of a timeline has been wildly useful for me over the years in getting to this point. This was never going to be a fast path. I mean, if you really think about a revenue share model built off of only new revenue, et cetera, even with like a client that starts it, no matter how much money they're making right then in their business, it takes time to ramp up to where I'm even seeing like a big return on that, if that makes sense. So like, and especially even if someone comes to me and they're much further along in business, it might even take longer to see a return. Like, I think it's easy to look at it and be like, oh, that client's already coming to you making 20K. Like you must be making a ton of money off that, which is just not true, because it's based off new revenue. So if you're already making 20K because you're maxed out at one-on-one, and you come to work with me because you want to scale, there's going to be this huge gap of time where I'm not really taking any revenue share off that because you're capped, so you can't take on more. And we have to build whatever you're scaling to next, right? Hi, Jen. Oh, thanks, Shari. I'm so glad you like that. Speranza says sometimes people ask questions from their own mindset point of view. Just because it might not work or work for someone doesn't mean it will not work for another. Absolutely. Hey, Claire. Right. So, I think it's helpful to see that, right? Where it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it's not like I'm going into someone's business and being like, oh, great, you're making 20K a month. Like, you owe me 10%. Like, that is not how this works. So it really does take time. So even like the first year I did this, like, I was making so little off the revenue share initially, not because my clients weren't growing and getting results, but because it takes time for us to start generating new revenue together, right? And because it takes build up, especially if you come to me already at a certain place or already full with a certain number of clients. And then also the first year I had everyone that had stayed on as a client, I didn't put them into revenue share. Like I, let them stay in what they were doing, because I have a rule in my business where, like, if you start with me, I never raise your rate as long as you continue to resign. So like no one's base rate's ever gonna go up. The percentage isn't gonna go up, whatever. So that whole first year, I had so many clients that weren't even part of the revenue share model at that time. So it's taken like literally years to get to this point where the revenue share has scaled us to $1 million business. Now, that is maybe the most important thing I could share today, although I will share a lot more, because it didn't mean it wasn't working the whole motherfucking time. Right? Do you see how it's so easy in business to expect the very fast result and to think if we don't get the very fast result, it wasn't working? This was working the whole time. That whole first year where it was not really bringing in a ton of money, it was working to get me to this point. That whole next year where it just started to take off a little bit, it was working to get me to this point, and so on and so forth. Every year has built on itself. Every year we've made a lot more with this model, but it has not always been so immediately clear. Does that make sense? So that's what happens with so many business owners, is they really think it should happen super fast or something has gone wrong. Even like clients where it's like the first time they're launching a program, it is really just highly unlikely that the first time you're launching a brand new program, especially if it's like the first time you launch or something like that, that you're going to have a 100K launch. I'm not saying it can't happen. And I'm not saying I haven't seen it happen. I'm just saying, like, in terms of like likelihood, it's just not huge. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that program or that launch or that offer or that audience, or it might just mean the next one gets better, and the next one after that gets better, and the next one after that gets better. Like, I have a client right now who, like, the first time she launched something, I think made like 5K or something off of it. And this time she launched and she's having like a $79,000 launch. Same program, very similar launch, to be perfectly honest. Definitely same offer. I think we have raised the price point a bit, but like, all that happened is it had to pick up steam. Her audience had to get familiar with it. She had to build momentum and credibility and testimonials and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera around it. And it was working the whole time. Even when she had the 5K launch, it was working to get her here. Even when I had that year where the revenue share really didn't net me a lot, it was still working to get me here. Does that make sense? And that is like the biggest trap I see people fall into in online business, is thinking that if it's not happening now, it's not working, versus seeing that like it might work over time. Like, it might have to build momentum, and then you get to a point where it's working better and better and better. But I'm not even really doing anything different, to be honest. I haven't, oh my God, like in ever, maybe. I don't think I've ever raised my base rate, ever. I've not changed my program, ever. Like, since the minute I started this, my pricing has been the same. Since the minute I started this, my container has been 6 months and I've had 3 calls a month. Like, nothing is changing that much. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how can you stay in it even when it seems like it's not happening right away, is one of like the biggest things I could say, because the way it happens is to keep going. The way it happens is to keep refining. Like if I had expected us to hit 7 figures the first or second year in the revenue percentage, I wouldn't be here hitting 7 figures. I would have just dipped out. Right. And like, yes, my business model is different, but it's not that different that it's not applicable. Like, quite honestly, yours might happen way faster than mine did. Again, my business model is almost kind of like built to be a little more slow in a sense. But the point remains that like what made this possible was staying on the journey. And it's also what makes it easier for me to, what's the word? Metabolize, I guess is a good way to say it. Because I've just seen it grow over time and I've been able to regulate to like each new level over time. And I think a lot of times we don't want to give ourselves permission in business to do that. Like as soon as we hit something, we want the next thing. But what I've seen with so many of my clients is sometimes we do have to really metabolize and like embody the level that we're at in order to go to the next level. And so this business model has really helped me do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I just, again, like speaking of sayings, I hate like the idea of like, if you're not growing, you're failing, is like, I can't with that. I just disagree with so much about that. Which I won't make a big thing around here, but like, yes, keep growing macro, but overall, sometimes the embodiment or the like metabolization or whatever is your biggest growth opportunity if you'll stay in it instead of making it wrong. So that's been something that's been really, really, really helpful for me as well. Maggie says, yes, it is always working. Had the same conversation this morning. Totally. How are you able to be on point about structuring things so well so many years ago? Like you said, your business model, pricing, etc. Like what you just said. The thing is, Franza, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think that I like picked so well or anything. Like I'm sure I could raise my price. I know I could raise my price right now. I don't like, I know some people like would think that I should have a higher percentage than 10%. Like it's not so much that I did it right. I just decide it's right in my brain. Does that make sense? So like, I feel like it's just so easy to fight yourself on stuff like that, to be like, yeah, but like maybe my base rate really shouldn't be 1250. That's so low compared to like industry standards now. We're like, oh my gosh, it's like my percentage is only 10%. Like so many people would pay 20%. Like, why am I not charging that? Like, I could play with making all of that wrong, to be honest. And so the point in saying that is like, I feel like what I did is just committed to it and decided it was right. And I have continued to decide it was right. I don't think I like necessarily made the perfect choice. I think I just really, really fucking back my own choices and I really make them right. And I think that's pretty much a secret here, which you just gave me the perfect segue into, is like, if there is like one thing that I have done with this whole business and business model that has gotten us to this point, is like, I back the shit out of my own choices. So even if everyone thought that was a bad idea at the beginning, I like backed myself. Even if everyone thinks my base rate should be more, I back myself on what feels good. Like it's really that deep level of self-trust of like deciding you're getting it right, deciding that you're making the right decisions, that is so helpful and helps it actually feel like it's working out along the way. I think this industry can make it feel like you're getting it wrong a lot. And I think anyone, that will listen, someone will tell them what they're doing wrong. I remember getting this message in my DMs a little while ago about how this person felt like I wasn't showing up authentically. I wasn't charging my worth. And I seemed like I didn't feel as lit up in my business as I could, basically. Like I'm paraphrasing because I don't really fucking remember all of it, but that was the gist of it. And I just remember reading that and being like, yeah, no, you're just wrong. Like none of that is true for me, but thanks for sharing. But if I didn't have that deep self-trust at that point, that would have fucked me up. So it's almost like that's what the industry does, is like it will fuck you up and make you second guess yourself all the time if you're not really careful. And there is always someone that will tell you like how they perceive that you're like fucking it up. Right. So like point being, like you really gotta like back yourself on that, right? Maggie says my friend Simone uses the word acclimate, like acclimating to a new level of success. Love that. So good. Yes, totally. You just picked one thing and did it for years and years. Exactly. And sold on the choices. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Claire, totally. I mean, like, listen, I certainly think that was shit. Like, I don't know why anyone would do that. Although I think that it felt like a marketing technique. Like, I think that person was like, oh, if you feel like all of this is true, then obviously you'll hire me to fix it. It wasn't true for me, but like, again, if you aren't backing your choices a lot and you get a message like that, it's so easy to be like, oh my God, can people see that? Is that a thing? Like, right? Or like, just imagine that that was like a post you see, like say it's not a message directed personally at you, but it's just a post you see, then you start second guessing yourself. Like nobody's charging their worth, and you're like, oh my God, am I don't know, versus like, how can you really, really back yourself and your decisions? Like that is everything. So again, it's like being at that place years ago where I was like, oh, this whole year, it's probably not going to look like this is working. And then next year, it's probably just going to start to look like it's working. And then the year after that, like, right, like backing yourself through all of that time and holding that belief is so helpful. But the reason I was also able to do that is because I really liked what I was doing. So that's another point I want to talk about here for a second. So many unsolicited opinions in this industry. Yes, yes. Calibrate. Yes, great word as well. How do you make the decision to take on new clients knowing that it will potentially decrease your revenue for the short term? I just feel okay with that, to be honest. Like I really have gotten to this point in business because I've been doing this revenue share model for so long where I don't make fluctuations in income mean a whole lot. I don't feel like it means that like I'm not doing well in business. I don't mind if it fluctuates a little bit because like we can obviously sustain the business on much less. Our profit margin is really, really high. So like I just see the long-term benefit of that. Like so many of my clients have started with me at 0 and gone on to 6, multi-6, 7, multiple 7 figures. So I see the value in taking on a client that's newer and what we can accomplish together. And so I feel like it's just, I see long-term benefit, and that's how I look at business. Like I'm super okay with like, you know, a short-term like dip or challenge for the long-term benefit. You guys, it's saying they're having trouble playing my video. Can someone tell me if that is a thing? Maybe I just need to not be looking at it on my computer, but it's saying we're having trouble playing your video. So let me know if that's true. In the meantime, I will keep talking. But yeah, basically I just don't mind that. Like, I think that it's just like with anything in business, like sometimes you have to make the, you know, short-term investment for the long-term reward. And so that's really the thing that I would think about here. Oh, good. Okay, good. I don't know why it's doing that on mine. Maybe I'll just pull it up on my phone. Okay, cool. You know, just like you might invest money in the coach to get the result, or you might invest money in Facebook ads to get the result later. I feel like that's what I'm almost doing with my model, is like I'm investing time and energy into this client, and I see the long-term potential of that later. So affirming to me, like glamorizing the get rich quick shit in this industry can make us feel like we aren't doing things as quickly as we should according to an arbitrary timeline. Exactly. I think that's so true, where it just feels like, you know, it would be better if, and quite honestly, like there is not an it would be better if for me in this. Like I can't see how this would be better if I had made 7 figures a year and a half earlier or something like that. I mean, obviously, like, yes, I would have more money in my bank account. I'm not like, saying that isn't a thing. But like in terms of like the practical long-term sustainability of this model, this business, like that wouldn't have necessarily been the biggest win I could have had. So I think that's just important to say. Where like if I'm like, I want to be doing this for years and years and years and years. I'm not trying to like make as much money as I can in 2 years and then like dip out. So like for me, it's like if it took us this long to get to a million, like can I be okay with that? And I think part of it for me is like, can I own it outwardly and almost like control the narrative around that, where I don't feel like it's like a shamey thing. Like I should be a business coach. That's, I've been in business almost 6 years at this point. So like our 6th year will be our $1 million year. Like I don't have to feel fucking bad about that. Right now, I've made really, really great money most of those years. And so I am certainly not complaining, but I do think in our industry, sometimes it can be like, if you didn't make, 7 figures in, the first 7 months in business or whatever, like you're not a good coach. And I just do not buy into that. Again, if we look at the revenue model and what it represents, like technically it represents that, collectively my clients made over $1 million last year or last month, so like I know I'm doing a great job, like, and it's not just because of the money, because my clients re-sign because they're telling me, because they're having a great experience. So like I don't base am I a good coach based on how much money I'm making. I feel like even though those are very intertwined in my model, I still see those as very separate things, if that makes sense. Oh shoot, it is in and out. Okay. I think it's just going back and forth. I don't know. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Let me know if it keeps being bad and I'll see what I can do here. In terms of how you choose to pay yourself, how do you think about that as income drastically increases from an energetic exchange and feeling good about how you compensate yourself versus creating financial safety for the biz? Does that question make sense? Let me answer that in 2 ways, Shari, because I feel like I have to separate those out for that to make sense. How I plan for expenses, I really try to plan based on our base rate. So I would never let our expenses significantly outpace our base rate. I think of expenses and base rate as very intertwined. In terms of how much I pay myself, I'm happy to pay myself and do pay myself more and more and more as percentages increase. But it's like I'm basically paying myself after those have come in. So I feel like that's solid and stable. But in terms of how I plan for expenditures and expenses in our business, I really try to keep that on pace with the base rate. So I hope that makes sense. Like I really try to plan for everything to be related to that. And then like, obviously I'm happy to take more cash in terms of like personal payments and salary. But even that, like I really love to not like super outpace our base rate, but does that make sense? So it's like, we'll take, more disbursements or whatever, but I like that to feel like the base rate would still cover way more than our expenses and some of my personal expenses and things like that, because that helps me stay really detached as well, which helps it be really fun. So you're basically saying you bonus yourself out as revenue share growth. Exactly. But yeah, it just helps with the detachment, I think, too, where I'm not ever thinking about like, oh, like how much is this client bringing in this month? Like that, I totally stay out of that game in my head. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. And here's the other thing that I will just kind of share as part of this journey. And I feel like this is like so annoying and weird to hear, but it has really been true for me. So I just want to share it here. Is so much of this is seeing what you're making as separate from exactly what your business model is. Let me try to explain that better. Oh, wait, let me see. Totally hear you. Okay, good. The percentage of women business owners that make $1 million is so small. So being at 7 figures is huge. Absolutely. Right. And I think like no matter how long it takes you to get there or what that looks like for you or whatever, like not making timeline so important is so helpful, where it's like the win is the win, whether it took 6 years, 16 years, 6 months, whatever, the win is still the win. And I think we just have to like make that more of a thing in our space. So thank you, Nima. I appreciate that. Okay. So here's what I'm trying to say. If you look at, oh, you have like, you know, a handful of clients and you charge them a percentage, like it doesn't seem like that would make you $1 million, right? It just doesn't. Like if I told you, oh, I'm going to have, you know, 20 clients, I'm going to charge them $12.50 in base rate, and then I'm going to make $1 million. Most people would be like, that literally makes no sense, right? Now, I can equate a lot of that to like, I have amazing clients, we do great work together, all of those things, and that is fucking true, right? So I'm not taking away from any of that. However, what I have really found over time is the more I lean into what I want to be making and lock into that, completely separate from figuring out what would have to happen for that to happen in the business, the more I see it come to fruition in ways I could have never guessed, never expected. Now it's still coming in through the business, but like, you know, a surprising income jump for a client or different things like that, where I'm like, if I was planning for it, that wouldn't have been how I planned for it, but it makes sense. So for me, I have been saying to myself for a little while now, like 100K cash month is my new thing. That's done. That's locked in. We're going there. That's what's happening in our business. Before that, I was saying, you know, another number, before that, another number. And so like, I really have focused on like getting really safe with and locking into the numbers from a mindset perspective more than I have tried to hack it in my business. And it sounds like, again, a little bit weird to say. I think I'm at a slight advantage there because the business model I have, I can just plan less. So obviously that's a disadvantage in its own way, like we were talking about earlier, but it is an advantage in the sense that I can't really like, I would never in a million years like map out each client and when they're launching and like what I think they're going to make. And like that, like I'm such a hard no to that. I can't even begin to tell you. But what I can tell you is the more I don't do that, and the more I'm like, but like this number is like part of my existence. It's part of what I'm thinking about. It's part of what I'm affirming. It's part of my daily mindset work. It continues to show up, right? It continues to show up in ways I couldn't have expected. And so I feel like it just opens the door for a lot of things versus sometimes if we're like only manifesting this thing we think we can get through the model we have, we're really limiting ourselves. Like if I really had leaned into these higher and higher numbers only from the perspective of what seemed possible with the like number of clients I had, the base rate I had coming in, et cetera, I don't think I would ever be to this point. And the more I do it, the more I see that to be true. Like it is such a mechanism of like, how comfortable and safe am I with that number? How much am I locking that in? And then I really find that it shows up in the business in ways that just surprise me so much. And so I just want to share that too, because like, yes, I believe in this model. Yes, it works. But some of the basics of like doing something that just lights you up so much that you can detach from the money, yet getting really clear on what you want the money to be and playing with that and aligning to that number and making it part of your mindset work. For me, that seems like the magic combination. And I know those feel like different things, but the more I do that, the more I see results. It is just so interesting how those seem to feel so separate, but also really live together. So it's like the detaching from the outcome and locking into the outcome. But again, the detachment is around what it has to look like in the business and what I have to prove in the business. Like, right, I don't know, like I have completely released that, like I have to prove shit by making more and more money. Like if I never made another 100K month again, I would still feel so grounded and solid in doing good work in my business, right? And over here, I'm playing with that number. I'm having fun with it. I'm thinking about things I'm going to do with it. I'm thinking about what it means. I'm getting familiar with it. It's becoming part of my like daily language and vocabulary and all of this stuff. So does that make sense? Like separate, but like they work together, right? Shari says, yes, I love how that leaves room for magic. Yes, which is also my word of the year, which you know, Shari. And basically co-manifesting results in money with your clients in a weird and beautiful way, 100%. So many of my clients joke that they like manifest results through me. And I'm like, yeah, like we're just doing this together. You are sold on the what of your goal and you leave the how to the universe. Exactly. It doesn't mean I don't create a business model I love and don't make space for that and don't show the fuck up every single day for that business. I show up, I think, in a way that I'm extremely, extremely proud of and very committed to. But I feel like the number is separate from that. Like I don't feel like it's so tied together. And the more I unwind those two from being tied together, the more I see it flow in. And that was so this month, like the way that things came together, like I could have just never made that make sense or predicted it. And it just worked out how it did. And I know it's because I've been doing work on getting clear on, invested in, aligned to that number. And so it felt inevitable, right? And then it was easy and, you know, showed up in the way that it needed to show up. So I really feel like that's such a hack is like, how can you really love your business model? Feel so good about showing up in it each day, try innovative things, do things that feel good there. And then over here, work on the money aspect, the number, that kind of thing, and really pull those apart in a way that helps you be invested in them and detached from them because they don't feel so intertwined. So I hope that's helpful. I know that's like a little bit hard to explain, but it has made such a difference for me. So I think that's just really cool. Did you always know you wanted to hit 7 figures in your business, or was that an unanticipated result? I guess a little bit of both, Shari. Like I think that for a while, that never felt like an important thing to me. I've spent several of those years thinking like that wasn't a huge interest. Like I was way more interested in building the model the way I wanted it than hitting the million. But once I got to that point where I just felt like revenue share was super, super locked in, I loved the model. I loved what I was doing. I did get to a point where I was like, yeah, I'm going to make $1 million. I didn't feel like there was a clear timeline on it or pressure to it, but it was almost like once I felt really locked in, like of how much I loved the model and how well it was working, then it felt like it was almost time to like lean into. And then like, what does this get to look like income wise? So kind of, I've been in both places, if that makes sense. I definitely wouldn't say I was always in the 7-figure mindset at all. But more recently after, you know, things just really, I don't want to say stabilized because that's not the right word, but yeah, like it just felt so grounded and good. And like, I just knew like I could rock this business model forever the way it is. That's when I was like, okay, time to start playing with the money, time to like really get excited there. Nima says, can you say more on how you got aligned or behind that goal and detached at the same time? Yeah, for me, like so much of it is timeline focused, Nima, if that makes sense. So I feel like when we say goal, what we almost always do in our brain is put this like immediate timeline on it. So I've been saying 100K for maybe 3 months, 4 months before it happened. And I kept getting closer. And then I wouldn't make it wrong when I got closer, right? But I wasn't like, goal of 100K and it's happening this month. And if it doesn't, like we didn't hit our goal. So for me, the detachment is like, I know I'm getting there and I see every step along the way as evidence that we're getting closer instead of like seeing every step mean we're not there yet. Right. So like I was saying, I wrote my numbers over here. That month where I made like 83, I was like, oh yes, closer. That's actually $1 million a year. So cool. Locked into that. Then we hit 94. Yes, closer, closer. Cool. Then we actually went down a little bit, I think, to like 780 or something like that. And still I was like, but like, we're still averaging out to 1 million, amazing, closer, closer, closer. Then we went up to 108, right? So like, I think the more you can like not put timelines and keep being willing to hold the goal and the vision over and over, the better it gets. And for me, it's like always having little ones along the way where like I haven't had 100 for years. Like that wouldn't have felt exciting to me. I've just moved the needle at each point in time. And then I've held that number until it showed up. And then I move the needle and then I hold that number until it shows up. Then I move the needle. Like, I'm not saying that's right for everyone, but for me, that's helps my brain a lot. And it's how I stay like in it and detached. But like, yeah, the biggest factor of that for me is removing timelines, because again, like, it's not like it would have mattered if it happened 3 months sooner or not. In fact, that month I made 94K. Someone said to me, like, why didn't you just sell something else and hit 100? Like, wouldn't that just make sense? Like, why wouldn't you just do that? And I was like, honestly, like, I just didn't think about it really. Like, I probably could have, but I really like, I felt like it was coming and I knew it was coming. So I didn't feel like, oh, and it has to be this month. Oh, it has to be now. So let me do that. Like, I was like, this is just evidence that it's coming, right? Yeah, exactly. As opposed to I have to hit it by Q2 or it doesn't count. That's a trap we get into in business owner. Exactly. Like, it, even again, that month where we did 94, I wasn't like, oh my God, this has to be it. I was like, this is just evidence that we're closer. This is amazing. Like, this is a done deal. Like, I feel it. I'm locked in. Like, we're here. Like, I use all of it as evidence that it's working, that it's coming, that we're closer. And so it helps me release. And then I know when it comes, like, it's great, but I don't make it feel like it would be better if it happened 2 months earlier, make it seem like it would mean more if it happened 3 months ago. Like, I don't care. Right. And like, this sounds bad to say, but it's true, which is like, I really try to hold the perspective of like, this isn't an incredible amount of money that we're making. And so if I make whatever 79K wrong, that is the exact fucking wrong message I'm trying to send to the universe. Like, that is the exact wrong vibe I want to be in. That is the exact wrong feeling I want to hold. So like, for me, it's really trying to celebrate all of it, make it all count. And again, I'm not just saying it because we're at high numbers, although that's part of the relevance of it, but like, even like the difference between like, you know, whatever, 12K and 15K. Like, I know that can seem so big, but don't make 12 wrong. Make it mean we're that much closer. We have that much more evidence. We're like in it. It's coming. We feel it. Right. And when you can do that, I feel like it comes so much closer. So I feel like I kind of went off on a money mindset tangent there at the end, but that has been really, really useful to me in this journey. So I hope that it was really, really useful to you guys. I just realized what time it was. I have a call at 6, so I have to run. But if you are interested in working together, make sure you jump on our wait list. I can put the link below later. And then also, I believe we have one spot left in the Value Centered Sales Mastermind starting in oh my God, not July. I did not say that, sorry. In January is what I meant to say. So I think we have one spot for Value Centered Sales in Jan, and otherwise we have the wait list. So absolutely can have you sign up there. If y'all have any other questions about this or this model, happy to answer it. Just realized this was getting long, so I will wrap it up now, but I feel like I could talk about this forever. So maybe we'll do an encore at some point if y'all have more questions. But thank you all so much for being here. I hope that you have a beautiful Monday, and thank you so much for celebrating with me. Bye, guys.